It's Goldman Diaries. I was sure he bought the bracelet for me, but on our anniversary, I got pajamas. In the bracelet, I saw it on her wrist. I wasn't snooping. I was just looking for a pin. His desk drawer stuck halfway, like always, and I tugged until it gave in with a small snap. Inside, neatly tucked between a stack of reports and an unopened envelope, was a velvet box. Black, perfectly square. I froze. My fingers reached it before my thoughts did. The weight of the box, the softness of the velvet. I knew. Inside, an elegant, gold bracelet. Thin, but heavy. Diamond-lined. Understated and exquisite. I smiled. Not wide. The kind of smile you hide from the world and savor in private. Our 10th anniversary was next week. Of course. I closed the box slowly, careful not to leave fingerprints on the glassy shine. Slipped it back exactly where it was. Ivy came over that afternoon. I made tea, sat across from her, and tried not to beam too obviously. She saw it instantly. What? I shook my head. Couldn't help it. I grinned. I think he got me something. For our anniversary. She raised an eyebrow. Something good. I nodded. A bracelet. Gold. It's beautiful, Ivy. Her squeal startled the cat off the couch. You finally trained him, she laughed. I laughed too. It felt good. Light. We spent half an hour imagining the moment. How he'd hand it to me after dinner, maybe with a note, or just a look. Nathan wasn't flashy, but he noticed details. He knew I didn't like big declarations. This gift felt right. At night, I looked at the bracelet in my mind like it was already mine. I pictured it on my wrist. My dress sleeve pushed just enough to show it off. His smile when I see it. My thank you kiss. I rehearsed surprise in the mirror, just enough to hide that I already knew. I had no reason to doubt. Not yet. No shadows. No suspicions. Only soft velvet. And a promise I never heard, but fully believed. I already knew how I'd open the box, but I had no idea what it would open inside me. The table was perfect. White candles, low music, plates I only used twice a year. Ivy sat across from me, her boyfriend beside her. Nathan was at the head of the table, swirling wine like he actually tasted it. I wore the dress he liked. Soft navy. Simple. My hair pulled back just enough to show my wrist. Empty. But not for long. He raised his glass. 10 years. Feels like 5 minutes. Underwater. He grinned. Everyone laughed. I did too. I kept looking at his jacket. The inside pocket. He always kept important things there. Dinner blurred. Laughter, stories, too much wine. I kept nodding at the right moments. But my eyes were on him. When dessert came, he reached under the table and pulled out a gift bag. Dark blue. Satin ribbon. Not a box. My stomach shifted. He handed it to me. For you, he said. Happy anniversary. I forced a smile. Slid the ribbon free. Inside folded tissue. Then silk. Soft, luxurious, deep blue silk. Pajamas. Long-sleeved. Buttoned. Monogrammed with my initials. Everyone said, oh, like it was thoughtful. Elegant. I stared at the fabric in my lap. My hands went cold. Ivy stopped chewing. Her eyes met mine. No words. Just silence. And knowing. I nodded, almost imperceptibly. She knew. It wasn't for me. The bracelet. He leaned closer. You like them? The woman said it was the softest silk they had. I blinked. Swallowed. It's beautiful, I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. He smiled. Touched my shoulder. Kept talking. I kept folding the pajamas. Neatly. Precisely. A heartbeat later, I excused myself. Went to the bathroom. Locked the door. Stared at my reflection. There was no rage. No tears. Just absence. Like something had left me. I splashed water on my face. Dried it. Looked down at the bracelet-less wrist. 10 years. 10 years for silk pajamas. Ivy caught me in the hallway before I went back in. She touched my arm. Claire. I shook my head. Smiled. Later, I sat beside him again. A perfect wife in perfect silk. While I unfolded pajamas, someone else was already wearing my bracelet. I hadn't planned to go to his office. I was just in the area. That's what I told myself when I pressed the elevator button. The lobby smelled like polish and pressure. Everything shiny, fast-moving, corporate. Like Nathan. The receptionist greeted me with a smile too wide. I didn't return it. Mr. Hale is in a meeting, she started. I'll wait. I didn't. I walked past her, heels sharp against marble, every step cutting through what was left of my denial. His door was slightly open. I heard her voice first. Jade. Laughing. Light. Rehearsed. Empty. Then I saw her. Sitting on the edge of his desk like she'd done it 1,000 times. Hair tied high. Lipstick perfect. And on her wrist, the bracelet. The one I found in his drawer. The one I imagined clasped around my wrist. I stepped inside. She turned, mid-laugh. Her smile dropped. I didn't raise my voice. Where did you get that bracelet? She froze. Looked at him. Nathan stood. Slowly. Like he could block the view with his body. Claire, he said, not here. We'll talk at home. That's when I laughed. Sharp. Loud. A crack in the room's air. At home. I said. After I've seen it? After I spent a week believing you remembered our anniversary? He said nothing. I stepped closer. You didn't even hide the box, Nathan. I thought it was for me. I told Ivy. I imagined your face when I opened it. Jade looked down. Her hand slid behind her back. Coward. And the worst part? I whispered, leaning just enough. You gave it to her, on our anniversary. While I unwrapped silk pajamas, you gave her gold. Nathan exhaled, long and shallow. I didn't want you to find out like this, he said. My eyes narrowed. No? Were you hoping for an Instagram post? Maybe a cute caption about how well she's treated. He looked away. 10 years. 10 years of birthdays, house hunting, Sunday coffee. Gone. With one clasp of a bracelet on the wrong wrist. I didn't cry. I turned. Walked out. The door closed behind me with a softness that felt violent. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't pack a single bag. Instead, I made breakfast. The next morning, I brought him coffee in bed, just the way he liked it. 2 sugars. No milk. He blinked up at me like I was a ghost. Everything okay? I smiled. Of course. At dinner, I lit candles. Asked about his day. Touched his hand across the table. He watched me like I might shatter. Or explode. But I didn't. I just kept being soft. He started staying home more. Watching me. Waiting for the crack in my mask. There wasn't one. Because it wasn't a mask. It was a weapon. I let him think I'd forgiven him. Let him believe the silence between us meant healing, not strategy. And while he slept, I worked. I created a new email. A new name. A polished, professional profile. Then I found her. Jade. I didn't threaten. I didn't scold. I offered. A job. High-paying. Full benefits. Creative position. In a new city. A fresh start. A better future. The kind of offer girls like her don't get twice. Salary? Double what Nathan paid her. Housing? Arranged. Rent-free. Moving expenses? Covered. The only condition? No contact. Ever again. With Nathan Hale. No calls. No texts. No accidental emails. Disappear completely. She took a day to reply. Then she said yes. 2 weeks later, she was gone. He came home one night and mentioned she'd left suddenly. No explanation. No goodbye. I poured his wine. Strange, I said. Maybe she found something better. He nodded slowly, still unsure of where I stood. I smiled. Right beside you, dear. Closer than ever. So close you don't feel the blade. I removed her from his life. But I didn't know who I'd hear from the following week. I came home early. Not by design. A meeting got canceled. I didn't call ahead. The house was quiet. No music, no news, no clinking dishes. Just the low murmur of Nathan's voice. From his office. I paused at the kitchen doorway. His laugh floated out, soft, unfamiliar. The kind of laugh you only hear when no one's watching. Then his voice dropped. I miss you too. Of course I do. No one could ever replace you. Silence. Then quieter, almost a whisper. If you only knew how much I still need you. I stopped breathing. The words didn't need a name. I knew exactly who he was talking to. Jade. The girl who vanished. The one who promised to disappear. She was still here. Not physically, but through a voice on the other end of his phone. Through a bond one hadn't cut deep enough. I stood there, frozen in the hallway. My keys still in my hand. He didn't hear me. Didn't sense the woman who had handed him breakfast for 2 weeks straight without blinking. I backed up slowly, slipped out the front door, sat in the car with the engine off. Silence wrapped around me like ice. She lied to me. I gave her an out. A clean escape. A way to move on, untouched. She chose to stay tethered. That bracelet wasn't enough for her. Now she wanted the whole man. And he was still offering himself in pieces. Not rage. Not revenge. Something cleaner. Colder. Surgical. The girl wanted to stay? Then let's see how long she could hold on when the ground beneath her started to shake. And Nathan? He'd already lost her once. Now, he'd lose her again, just differently. This time, he'd never know how or why. She lied to me. But their next lie would cost them both far more than a bracelet. I opened my laptop and wrote a letter. Not to her. To her company. To the department that oversees conduct, ethics, conflict of interest. No emotion. No personal attack. Just facts, neatly listed. A junior employee. Romantic involvement with a married man. That man, an executive at a competing firm. Clear breach. Documented risk. I attached no name. No return address. Nothing that could lead back to me. Then I sent it. Closed the browser. Deleted the file. Emptied the trash. And waited. 3 days passed. On the 4th, Nathan came home early. No smile. No kiss. His tie was loose. His eyes distant. He poured a drink without speaking. I stirred the soup. Set 2 plates. Long day? I asked, light as air. He nodded. Sat down. Didn't touch his food. He didn't tell me. But I already knew. She was gone. Again. Only this time, there was no job offer. No apartment. No clean break. Just silence. The kind that comes when someone vanishes to save themselves. He checked his phone 4 times during dinner. Each time, pretending it was nothing. Each time, finding the same emptiness on the screen. I said nothing. I simply refilled his glass. And smiled. He thought she walked away from him. He didn't realize someone had pulled her out by the roots. There were no signs. No fingerprints. No return address. Just absence. And in that silence, I watched him unravel quietly. No outbursts. No confessions. Just a man who had gambled everything for a thrill and now sat with nothing but a half-eaten dinner and a wife who looked at him like a stranger. He had no idea what had happened, but he felt the loss. Deeply. And I felt nothing at all. He started coming home earlier. Not like a man eager to be with his wife. More like someone trying to escape something he couldn't outrun. He no longer brought his briefcase inside. Left it in the car, like it carried secrets he didn't want near the dinner table. When he walked through the door, his shoulders twitched slightly, like he expected someone to jump out of the dark and ask questions he wasn't ready to answer. I didn't ask any. I just greeted him with the same soft smile. Set the table. Lit the candles. Consistency, after all, is comforting. Especially when you're unraveling. Some nights, he would speak. They're doing a random audit, he'd say, too casually. It's nothing. Then he'd laugh at his own words. But his hand would tremble slightly as he reached for his fork. I noticed everything. His gaze flicking toward his phone every time it buzzed. The way he turned away from the window when headlights passed outside. Fear lives in small things. He tried to keep up appearances. Still wore his suit. Still made phone calls, loud, confident, performative. But the hallway was no longer filled with his voice. It was filled with silence. My silence. And it said more than anything I could have screamed. Everything okay at work? I asked once, placing his wine glass just right. He jumped slightly. Covered it with a cough. Yeah, just stuff. Politics. I nodded. Didn't press. He looked at me, searching. Waiting for anger, suspicion, questions. But I gave him none. I gave him peace. That's what scared him most. He started checking my phone when he thought I wasn't looking. Glancing at my laptop screen from the hallway. Trying to figure out what I knew. What I'd done. He didn't understand yet. But he felt it. The quiet collapse of control. The shifting beneath his feet. The storm that wasn't coming. Because it was already here, inside the house, dressed in silk, serving soup with a smile. He didn't know tomorrow would be his last day at the top. He came home before sunset. No tie. No jacket. No phone in hand. His shoes sounded heavy against the floor, like each step cost him something. He didn't say hello, just walked into the dining room and sat down like a man who wasn't sure he still lived here. I had already set the table, out of habit, not hope. I brought the plates in silence, placed one in front of him, the other in front of me. He stared at the food like he didn't recognize it. Then finally, they let me go. His voice wasn't broken, just hollow, like the sound came from a room already emptied out. I didn't respond. I didn't reach for his hand. I didn't gasp. I refilled his glass. Slowly. He didn't drink it. They said it was a violation. Ethics. Conduct. A pause. Someone reported the relationship. He didn't look at me when he said it. He didn't have to. I kept my eyes on the napkin in my lap. Smoothed the fold with 2 fingers. He pushed the food around his plate. She's not answering. Not taking my calls. He finally looked at me then, searching again for rage, for warmth, for anything that made sense. I gave him nothing. Just silence. And breath. He shifted in his seat. Looked smaller somehow. Like the man who used to fill rooms was now shrinking into corners. He reached across the table, almost touched my hand. Claire. I didn't mean for it to go this far. My smile was calm, polite. The kind you give at funerals. You didn't mean, I said, but it did. He withdrew his hand. He thought the fall had already happened, but he was still midair, still watching the ground rise up to meet him. He had no title now, no mistress, no shield, just me. He started talking again. Not often, not with confidence, but with the desperation of someone trying to catch a train that already left the station. Small phrases, half-finished thoughts, hopes disguised as questions. Maybe we could take a trip. Just us. I folded laundry. Do you remember that lake house? The one we always talked about? I cleaned out the fridge. He followed me from room to room like a shadow chasing light that wouldn't stop moving. Until finally, one morning, he sat at the edge of the bed, hunched over, hands clasped. I ruined everything, didn't I? I looked at him. Not through him. Not past him. At him. And nodded. He blinked, as if he thought admitting it would earn him a chance. But we could still. I set down my coffee. Turned toward the window. We can't, Nathan. My voice wasn't cold. Just done. His breath caught. The silence that followed wasn't angry. It was the sound of something ending, of a rope being dropped. Gently. Finally. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Nothing left to say. The air in the room felt still, hollow, like a stage after the actors leave. No crying, no shouting, just absence. I stood, walked past him. His hand moved slightly, like he might reach for me. He didn't. I opened the door to the terrace. The sky was pale and clear, the kind of cold that wakes you up. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. Didn't slam it, just closed. He stayed inside, in the quiet, surrounded by furniture we picked together, photos we hung side by side. But none of it mattered now, because I wasn't in the room anymore. Not really. I had been leaving for months, minute by minute, smile by smile. And now, there was nothing left to hold on to. He asked me to stay, not with words, not at first, but in the way he hovered when I packed the last box, in the way he offered coffee I didn't drink, in the way he lingered in the doorway, hoping silence might change its shape. I didn't yell, didn't cry. There was no final fight, no dramatic confession, only folded clothes, keys on the counter, and a name no longer spoken with warmth. He stood by the kitchen island, arms crossed like a man defending a castle already burned down. I can fix it, he said. I zipped the suitcase. I know I hurt you, he tried again. But this doesn't have to be forever. I paused, looked around the house we built. The photos still on the wall. The chipped mug he never let me throw out. Then I looked at him. Tired eyes. Wrinkled shirt. A man now reduced to regret. This already is forever, I said. You just didn't feel it until today. He flinched. I walked to the door. He followed. Claire, please. I lost my job. I lost everything. I nodded once. No, I said calmly. You lost me first. The rest just followed. He didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I opened the door. The air outside smelled like spring. Damp earth. Beginning. He stayed in the hallway. And I stepped out. I didn't turn back. Didn't pause. Because I wasn't leaving in that moment. I had left long ago. Quietly. Thought by thought. Day by day. And on the other side, was the man who broke something he thought would always stay. Thank you for listening to the story till the end. I was surprised by how the wife managed to swallow her tears, sit at the table, and keep celebrating their anniversary. I would have flared up like a candle and wouldn't have left him a single chance. Write in the comments what you think about all this. Subscribe, more untold stories are on the way.